Hello, Dr. Ambar.
We are able to hear
Yes, madam.
you. Yes, good morning.
Yes. I think speaker Dr. Kalpuna, madam has joined.
Yeah, I have joined. I can't
Okay,
see
okay.
any. Can you see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a second.
Okay.
I will make, yes, we can see you, and we will make you a presenter. After the introduction, please wait for just a couple of minutes. We are going to start. After introduction, Kalpana madam, you please start today talk.
Sure.
Uh,
Ma'am, good morning, madam.
Good morning.
Parmeshachari here.
Oh, morning.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for accepting our invitation.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Please. Yeah, we'll wait for another 2 minutes, madam. Please.
Sure.
Amber, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Amber.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
you please go to participant
Okay.
and you can just click on entry and exit.
Just a second. What you say, sir? Again, please.
Go to participant
Okay.
and just click on untick entry and exit one.
Click on entry and exit one. Right now, I'm in the presentation mode.
Yeah, just no problem.
Right now I'm in the presentation mode. Once I can stop this presentation.
Just stop it and go to this, because no sound is coming, that's why.
Okay. I'm just stop this. I'm going to, okay, just unchecked one. Now is it fine? I unchecked.
Yes.
Yes. Shall we start, sir?
Shall we
Yeah,
start,
yes,
sir?
ma'am.
Now we should
Sujata,
start.
yeah, yes, Sujata madam, please.
Yes, sir. A very good morning to all the dignitaries, globally recognized IEEE representatives, EXICOM members of various regions and subsections, all the branch councillors, organizing committee of this event, and student volunteers. Myself, Dr. Sujata N. Patil, EXICOM member, IEEE, Bangalore ITS, and HOD of Electrical and Electronics. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you
Yes,
are.
madam, please go ahead.
HOD of Electrical and Electronics Engineering, KLE Dr. MSS CET Belgavi. Welcome you all to this international webinar on 3x3 strategy for beyond the third wave, organized by IEEE Information Theory Society Bangalore chapter in association with IEEE Bangalore section and IEEE Mysore subsection. So let me start this event by briefing about the IEEE. IEEE is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers in the world's largest technical professional organization dedicated to advancing technology for the benefit of humanity. IEEE and its members inspire the global community to innovate for the technology standards and professional educational activities. IEEE is the trusted voice for engineering, computing, and technology information around the globe. IEEE Information Theory Society membership enables an individual to stay within the present technology and also ensures one be in touch with the peers. IEEE Information Theory Society is a leading technical society that focuses on processing, transmission, storage, and use of information, as well as the foundation of communication process. So with this brief introduction, now I would request Dr. Amber Vajpayee, Secretary ITS, Atria Institute of Technology, Bangalore, to introduce today's speaker. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sujata, for starting today event. For today event, we have a administrative service officer, class 1 officer with us, Dr. Kalpuna Gopalan, IAS, PhD, IIM Bangalore. I am happy to introduce Professor. Before this, may I just say that the few words from the Dr. Parmesha Shari about the ITS Bangalore chapter.
Yeah. Thank you, Amber.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, the IEEE Information Theory Society Bangalore chapter was inaugurated. Dr. V. Liu, President IEEE ITS Global, and inaugurated on 19 Jan 2021. Under the IEEE ITS Bangalore chapter, we successfully established 12 IEEE student branch chapters around Karnataka. Some of the colleges are SDM City Dharwad, Guru Nanak Dev Engineering College, Maharaja Institute of Technology, PDA College of Engineering, Shanabasu University, Kalburgi, KLE Dr. MS Sheshgiri, Adrian Institute of Technology, KCT Engineering College, Kalburgi, BMS Institute of Technology, HKE Society SLN College of Engineering, Raichur, Sahyadri College of Engineering, Mangalore, and BITM Ballari. So for these colleges, we were initiated the student branch chapters, and we are successfully conducting various activities under IEEE ITS chapter. So today is one of the best event. So Madam has agreed to deliver talk under the IEEE ITS Bangalore chapter. So I'm thankful to Kalpana Madam for accepting our invitation for today's speaker. And with respect to this COVID situation, this talk is very much important for our students as well as faculty members. Thank you, Madam, for accepting our invitation once again. And
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah, I thankful to my organizing committee member and my execom members of IEEE ITS Bangalore chapter for organizing this today's webinar. Thank you all. Please go ahead, Amber.
Thank you, thank you. So now I would like to introduce our resource person, Dr. Kalpuna Gopalan, Additional Chief Secretary, Labor, Animal Husbandry and Veterinary Science, Fisheries and Jan Ispandana Public Grievances, Government of Karnataka, Bangalore. Dr. Kalpuna Gopalan, IAS, is a composite public policy professional, a true versatilist. She wears many hats: practitioner, policymaker, scholar, author, volunteer, and mother. She secured the 19th rank in the All India Combined Civil Services Examination in 1987. Her 33rd year work experience in the Indian Administrative Services spans land administration, energy, handicrafts, urban management, public distribution system, sports, rural development, youth training and education. She is now the Additional Chief Secretary, Labor and the Public Grievances Redressal, Government of Karnataka. So thank you, Madam, for today event. So I will like to stop my presentation, and I'll make you as a presenter for today. Very, very important talk. We are very happy to listen you, for this is the very relevant topic in current pandemic scenario. Just a second.
you.
I will. Thank you, madam.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Amber. Thank you, Parameshachari, sir. Now, may I have privilege of inviting Dr. Kalpuna Gopalan to take over the session.
Thank you. Thank you all for that very generous introduction. I am here to talk to you about the 3x3 strategy to cope with developments beyond the third wave. Now, why 3x3? It's because I'm going to present 3 arguments before you, and each argument has 3 sub-arguments, and therefore 3x3, 9 points totally will be presented before you today without a PPT. So you'll have to listen carefully. I avoid PPTs because it makes for a lazy audience. So I want you to listen. This is not something for your classroom. This will be useful to you for life. Winston Churchill exhorted us to never waste a good crisis. COVID-19 has forced us into a prolonged timeout. It has brought radical lifestyle changes. As we move into a calibrated opening up, it is time for us to begin contemplating the end of the crisis, envision what the world will look like in its aftermath, how the pandemic will change the way we live and work, and what we need to do to adjust to the new normal of the post-COVID-19 world. Today, I will present 3 arguments to you. First, I argue that the new normal of the post-COVID world will see major changes in our professional world. I see 3 vectors of professional change: the accelerated importance and use of information technology, unconventional ways of working, including freelancing and work from home, and increased inter-organizational and intersectoral collaborations and networks. Second, I argue that these changes will demand personal transformations from each of us, of which 3 are cardinal: embracing uncertainty and change, becoming a continuous learner, and practicing personal and collective social responsibility. My third and final argument is that capacity building is the single enabler and tool available to us to navigate the changes that we will confront in our professional and personal worlds. To leverage capacity building, we need to harness youth who are outside the formal higher education institutional framework. Focus on the frontline and backroom workers who are vital to decision making and implementation, and design training programs so as to train teams and not just individuals. This, in essence, is my 3x3 strategy. Why has COVID-19 thrust this imperative upon us? Does a crisis by itself ensure reform? Every great crisis to mankind has seen a period of confusion followed quickly by rapid counter responses. In challenging times, we question accepted realities, devise quick solutions, often outside the usual compass, some of which may be effective enough to become normal quotidian practice. This was demonstrated in the world wars as well as in pandemics such as the Spanish flu. History also suggests that the global economy is remodeled in significant ways after a major crisis like COVID-19, spurring the adoption of new technological strategies and business models. The SARS outbreak in 2003 is seen as a causal factor for the adoption of online shopping by China, which resulted in Alibaba's rise. The balance of payments crisis in India led to the paradigm shift of liberalization, globalization, and privatization in 1991. The economic and humanitarian crisis unleashed by COVID-19 is thus an opportunity to reform sectors such as skilling, healthcare, the unorganized sector, and education, which are the underpinnings of our political economy. Moving on, what changes will we see in the post-COVID professional world? We are witnessing several shifts that are taking place in the world of work. The multi-sectoral acceleration of information technology, the advent of freelancing and work from home modes, and the need for lateral, cross-sectoral and inter-organizational collaboration are three such seminal changes. Let us first look at the advent of technology. The CEO of IBM, speaking in an online forum, said, and I quote him, "History would look back on this as the moment when the digital transformation of business and society suddenly accelerated. COVID-19 has increased digitalization in all spheres." Could you mute the other mics, please? Yeah.
I will take care.
COVID-19 has increased digitalization in all spheres of our professional world, whether it is education, healthcare, governance, or entertainment. As schools closed in many, I think I have.
You are audible, ma'am. Please go ahead. Unmute yourself, madam. Amber sir. Hello.
Yes, someone.
Yeah, you can make madam as co-host.
Yes. Okay. Please wait.
Do you know?
Yes, I'm doing this. I'm searching, madam.
No. Just click on madam's name and change
Yes,
role.
yes,
Go to.
yes. She's there.
Okay.
Please continue with it.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, madam. Please.
COVID-19 has increased digitalization in all spheres of our professional world, whether it is education, healthcare, governance, or entertainment. As schools closed in many parts of the world, e-learning and e-delivery of education saw a smart breakthrough. Even while keeping teachers integral to the education process, there will be in the future a new flexibility and agility with curated content through platforms like Coursera and entirely new learning experiences through artificial intelligence, virtual intelligence, and mixed experience tools. Healthcare is seeing similar changes. Digital efforts in Wuhan to contain the crisis via smartphone trackers demonstrated a powerful new public health tool. Kerala Police launched Project Eagle Eye to use drones for surveillance during the lockdown, using technology as a tool to complement manual surveillance in topography which is inaccessible, such as pocket roads and open fields where jeeps cannot traverse. In the entertainment industry, Netflix and Amazon Prime are seeing a big boost. Netflix viewer numbers have swelled as lockdowns across countries kept people at home. Even the requirements of daily activities need digital navigation. As people have been forced physically apart, they turn to video calls on WhatsApp. All these demonstrate the growing acceptance of technology to help us feel connected. As people become more comfortable with technology and service providers upgrade their infrastructure, creating better pipeline and more streamlined and user-friendly interfaces, technology becomes easier to live with day to day. The second change in the professional world is the growth of freelancing and work from home modes. COVID-19 has propelled us to experiment with work from home on an unprecedented scale. As the CEO of Wipro put it, work from home will define a new normal for a lot of industries and will create new opportunities for us to be able to do more work globally. WFH has gone beyond our quotidian processes and scaled new innovative heights. India demonstrated this in the Facebook Geo and the Google Geo deal. The US dollar 5.7 billion investment by Facebook and Reliance Industries Geo platforms set a new standard in remote negotiation with extensive M&A dialogue happening online, even including due diligence and agreement negotiations. This is one of the biggest deals that has taken place when there was a nationwide lockdown in both the India and the US. Transactions of this magnitude, especially transnational ones, usually involve considerable travel and face-to-face meetings by the higher management and their financial and legal advisors. This time, however, all this happened online. Another shift that we may expect is the emergence of the gig economy. Each of us will have to get used to becoming a freelancer. Remote hiring of technical talent will become the norm. Even before COVID-19, we were seeing permanent employers such as governments and universities cutting down on hiring and increasingly outsourcing even their core functions. While this may create job insecurity, it is not necessarily a bad thing or even a new one. Take a surgeon. She is attached to one hospital, but she consults in many hospitals. Some surgeons even consult online and earns remuneration from multiple organizations. A talented and skilled individual can peddle her expertise across organizations and be paid by all of them. Remote hiring of talent will become the norm, with corporate positions opening up to skilled candidates everywhere, prioritizing skills over pedigree and geography, all of which is good news for both the economy and the talent pool. It makes talent pools more diverse and businesses and economies stronger. The third change in the professional world is the growth of cooperation and collaboration. Gig economy and pervasive freelancing make this necessary. As freelancing becomes prevalent, teams will be self-created rather than being curated by leaders and will be more interdependent, more collaborative, more agile, and more flexible. COVID-19 saw the pharmaceutical giants GlaxoSmithKline and Sanofi forget their commercial rivalry to join hands to build a vaccine, pooling their relative strengths of adjuvant technology and a virus antigen. While Google and Apple teamed up to evolve standards for contact tracing. Recently, I used to work in the Department of Youth Empowerment and Sports, and I was heading the National Service Scheme in Karnataka. Now, we teamed up with the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, NIMANS, and the National Health Mission to provide curated training on COVID-19 response to NSS officers and volunteers who in turn disseminated this content to communities. All this demands that we build up networks and skills, build each other up professionally with no room for envy or backbiting or jealousy. Let us move on to the next argument. The post-COVID individual. What personal transformation is required from each of us? The first is to embrace change and uncertainty. Heraclitus said that the only thing that is constant is change. Pragmatism demands that we survive the present moment while building ourselves to thrive in a very different future. In a topsy-turvy world, how does one stay sane and calm? Questions are everywhere. What will the future hold? How will life change? And what will the new normal be? Uncertainty is uncomfortable. Yet change is inevitable, and COVID-19 has only accelerated the pace of change and made it palpable. In such a dynamic and unpredictable situation, those who accept uncertainty and are willing to take swift, decisive, and risky action will hold the advantage. As lockdowns were announced and non-essential businesses were instructed to close, business owners were suddenly faced with the tough choice of either stopping operations completely or finding new ways to provide service. Many restaurants closed their doors but kept kitchens open, tying up with delivery services like Swiggy and Zomato. Barbers whose salons closed began to offer home haircut services. Hence, the first personal transformation that the post-COVID challenge demands from us is the realization that change is the only constant and that things may change any moment. This calls upon us to embrace uncertainty, develop equanimity, mental balance, emotional intelligence, and agility of thought and action. Next, become a continuous learner. Continuous learning opens our minds and changes our attitudes. Knowledge is now at our fingertips. To function effectively amongst this rapidly changing world of technology, we need to learn new things to remain valuable. Those not making use of this opportunity will stagnate. Do not be left behind. Ensure you remain up to date and keep up with industry trends and adapt your skill sets. Resources for continuous learning are many. Read magazines and online articles. Analyze and critique case studies. Subscribe to publications relevant to your work or interests. Connect with global networks using Skype, social media, and email. Attend training courses and webinars like this one. Try MOOCs such as Coursera and edX. Listen to podcasts and watch documentaries. The days when one went through a neat progression of study, work, retire will be replaced by a career of constant personal reinvention and learning with doing. Thus, the second transformation required from all of us is continuous learning. It is vital in order to prepare yourself well for the coming future. Our third and most important self-transformation is the practice of collective social responsibility. We are familiar with CSR or corporate social responsibility. But this is not enough. CSR is still someone else's job. It is up to each of us to adopt personal social responsibility. We have a duty to each other. Personal social responsibility is easy to practice, say by teaching a child or helping a destitute person in need. But what COVID-19 has brought home to us is a larger collective social responsibility. The health of our communities depends on our individual actions. Therefore, it emphasizes our responsibility to the community. There are many ways in which the pandemic has expanded the opportunities for exercising collective social responsibility. We have suddenly and sharply become aware of a joined up world. COVID-19, while emphasizing physical distancing, has reminded us also how interconnected our world really is. The virus spread from a market in Wuhan, China, to almost every corner of the globe in just 3 months. That the public health crisis is a demonstration of how connected we are to the rest of the world. What happens overseas or in a neighboring state or in a neighboring district can directly and immediately impact lives in our country, our state, or our home. As we collectively navigate the COVID-19 public health crisis, there are ways in which we may practice collective social responsibility. It is the general consensus that the only way to counter the spread of COVID-19 is for each of us to follow discipline and protocols, wash our hands, keep our distance, stay at home in lockdowns. The health of our family, our community, and the economy depends on each of us setting aside our personal wants and needs for the good of the whole community. Even in complying with the lockdown, while it may feel that we are sheltering in place to benefit ourselves, paradoxically, it also results in common good. Social distancing causes a disconnection that can be disorienting. While we need to maintain physical distance to stop the spread of COVID-19, we need social connection more than ever. Therefore, COVID-19 gives us an opportunity to practice collective and personal social responsibility, helping us to overcome our prejudices, reinforce our ethics and values, extend our reach, find ways to reach out and involve, develop curiosity and compassion. Now I come to my third and final argument. How do we bridge these changes and transformations in our personal worlds and professional worlds? Here, there is just one single point which I will build upon, and that is the criticality of capacity building. COVID-19 has thrown up challenges and changes in our professional world, primarily the importance of technology, the growth of freelancing and work from home, and the increase of lateral and cross-sectoral collaboration. This in turn calls for personal transformations from each of us by embracing uncertainty and change, becoming continuous learners, and practicing personal and collective social responsibility. Capacity building is the tool which enables these transformations. As we emerge out of the pandemic, it is to be expected that governments and corporates invest in better cities, health, education, technology, but most of all in capacity building. What aspects of capacity building should we as individuals and as a nation focus on? First, leadership. Every big crisis is a test of leadership. But COVID-19 is not really about political influence or corporate power. It is about the everyday leadership that we as individuals and citizens demonstrate in our daily lives. Therefore, our capacity building should focus as much on qualities and character traits as on specializations. Traits such as calmness and equanimity, skills such as communication and problem solving, the attributes of a strong work ethic and a compassionate worldview. And of course, the leadership that is able to lead with persuasion and influence and not dictate. Encourages participation, not hierarchy, and is purpose-led and not power-driven. These should form part of skill development as much as technical skills. Second, the front line and the back room become important. In an increasingly digitalized world, with social media creating a virtual reality, presence and authenticity become even more important. Decision making in the pandemic is taken at the higher levels of the medical fraternity and bureaucracy. But these decisions are crucially dependent on the kind of inputs and information that flow from the bottom, from the lab technician or the ASHA worker who is in the field. Similarly, the decisions taken at the apex level have to be properly disseminated to and understood by each person down the line. Without this, implementation suffers. COVID-19 is not merely a health crisis, it is a logistical marathon. Vast quantities of data, medical and non-medical, are being collated, entered, sorted, cleaned, and readied for decision makers by tribes of data entry operators and analysts. As the pandemic progresses, we hear of swabs being improperly labeled or nurses being improperly trained. Now, it is not the number of beds or ventilators that will actually determine outcomes, but the quality of the personnel who are working on the patients. We can procure a bed, but to get a qualified nurse or a pulmonologist is not something that we can do in a month. These are long-term investments and highlight the importance of frontline and backroom workers and respect for dignity of labor. Third, the focus should be on training teams and not individuals. We saw that the pandemic has made freelancing acceptable, calling for greater collaboration across teams and organizations. It is likely that future teams will comprise permanent, temporary, freelance, and machine employees. And this diversity will call for greater need to build cohesion within the members. Yet, our educational system does not prepare us for cross-sectoral coordination of equals. Engineers train with engineers, doctors with doctors, bureaucrats with bureaucrats. Within each fraternity, hierarchy is the fallback option to resolve differences of opinion. But what happens when a policeman who belongs to the police hierarchy has to implement a medical decision made by a doctor based on data analytics produced by a computer scientist? We get lost in translation as they struggle with their different vocabularies and work processes. To avoid this and to face future crises better, we need to train teams and not individuals. Teams comprising of diverse professions, diverse sectors. Our pedagogy should mandatorily include case studies, self-reliance and decision-making situations, problem-solving, immersion experiences, and the like. So this, in essence, is my 3x3 strategy. In conclusion, let me say that choices, not crises, determine our opportunities. COVID-19 has changed the world like never before. The global lockdowns that we see happening with COVID-19 are unprecedented and perhaps even incomprehensible to human minds. Yet, amidst all this, opportunities lurk. It is time for governments, businesses, and individuals, you and I, to prepare for the worst, but also prepare ourselves to recognize and utilize these opportunities, and to keep the faith that we will transform to a newer, stronger, and reinvented India. Thank you all very much. Good luck. Jai Hind.
May I ask a quick question, and then we will also ask everyone else also to.
Please.
I'm Kishore, and appreciate you started off with Sir Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of UK during the wartime too. I said never waste a crisis, and that's very much relevant and pertinent to our COVID-19 situation. And you also touched based on a very interesting thing of Apple and Google cooperating with the strategies of how to do contact tracing. In fact, yes, any person who flies in any aircraft, I think this is the assumption is that the COVID virus has spread to the world through aviation. So every person definitely carries a smartphone, and with the database that the telcos have, we should be able to reach out to who are all the nearby people to every person in all four directions. So we should be able to reach out to their neighborhood and take precautionary measures. And I think due to certain compulsions of international data privacy or security and sharing across countries, they could not contain as they could have because of the technology available, but the virus has still spread over and rapidly before much faster than IT can catch up. And you have narrated these things like how learning is possible, how people can have flexibility, and you have also given a very good information to the knowledge community for the massive online courses like Coursera, etc. Very nice advice to us. And yes, and the third wave, compared to the second wave, we are all well prepared with the kind of governance and practices in place. You also touch based on need for cross domain teams to be trained and that relates to my work. I am now in India, but I help American companies source people from Chile, Mexico, Singapore, Canada, Australia, and that's an example. So I work in their timelines, and that's how globally with the use of technologies we can connect. And even children and Niti Aayog and organizations like uh, this the schools, AICTE, etc. They have come out with Atal Innovation Mission, where children are given knowledge on entrepreneurism, and so new changes are taking place to cope up with, I think, the new world and the digitally empowered world. So thank you very much for enlightening us with your wisdom of 3 into 3. I look forward to more questions, and then we'll get back to you, ma'am, with a note of thanks to you.
Thank you.
Organizers, could you ask other participants to ask questions? Then we will.
Anybody is having any doubts or any clarifications? I think Kishore sir, you please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, sir. I would also like to mention the beginning of the COVID when it started in Karnataka. We called upon Deputy CM Sri Ashwath Narayan sir to Indian Institute of Science for Bureau of Indian Standards event, and then that was cancelled due to the pandemic. And the context was on how the drones will impact our lives. Ma'am, as you mentioned that the challenge has opened up new ways of managing the supply chain, etc. So government Minister of Civil Aviation opened up the drones for distribution of medicines and things relating to the public personal health equipment and other vaccines and drugs delivery using drones in certain parts of India. And there was also locust during the pandemic. There was locust that hit some parts of Western India,
Yes.
and using a project by name Garud, they authorized the use of drones for rescue and helping agriculture fields to be protected from that invaders. And so I think, ma'am, as you started narrating all these points, I think this crisis gives more wings. You also quoted IBM about how the digital economy has emphasized the connect between corporate and the social and the individual in ways like they do work from home and at the same time protect all their information and ensure best practices. You really touched many fields, ma'am, and you would like you to say a few more closing remarks and then conclude the day. Thank you very much.
I just see one remark in the chat box from Dr. D. Jagan, that those digitized vendors are better off now, but the small vendors still challenging. Any comments? See, I beg to differ. It is not, those who are digitized or non-digitized. It is just actually those who are able to adapt and not able to adapt. Now, the best example is the example of barbers, which I gave you. Even our neighborhood, hair cutting salon, suddenly it was closed down during the first wave itself. They had to close down because of lockdown restrictions. But just like that, everybody needs a haircut. So just overnight, they shifted to providing home haircutting services. No digitization there, a simple haircut. But their business and their livelihoods would have gone. Instead, they just spread out in the neighborhood, and haircuts were available at home suddenly. And now I think many people may not want to migrate back to go to the salon at all. Home haircuts are so much more convenient. So it is actually the question of adaptability. Technology requires us to adapt. That is a fact. But the pace would have been much slower. But because of the pandemic, the need for rapid adaptation became necessary. And those who could, and they still thrive. Everybody has been hit, that is a fact, in some way or other. Some personally, so they lost their loved ones. Some professionally, people are waiting for jobs or lost their jobs. Those things also happen. But if you are able to adapt, there is a greater chance of survival. If we, we have to be meat change, kicking and scratching, then we are, less likely to be able to survive. So we'll have to mentally, it is not easy, but we'll have to mentally prepare ourselves to make those shifts and do that with agility, not take our own sweet time. So that is, what I would say. It's not, I wouldn't like to create this kind of digital, non-digital kind of divide. It is actually, it is up to us to see the situation and then mold ourselves in accordance with that situation. So it's a kind of mental capacity, not digital capacity. That is, I think, with these closing remarks, I wish you all the very best and hope to meet in perhaps not so distant post-COVID future.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
once
thank you,
again,
madam. Thanks for your.
Thank you for taking time, ma'am.
I request participants to switch on the camera so that we can have snap. Amber sir, yes. Amber sir.
Yes. Just a second, I changed my layout or someone should take.
Yes. Yeah, you can change it your layout.
I request all the participants, please turn on your video. Hold on for a second. Thank you everyone, all the participants.
Yeah, thank you, madam. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Have a nice morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. So shall we, I have shared the certificate link in the chat window. I request all the participants should download your certificate. Thank you, Kishore sir, Parmeshwari sir, all the ExCom members, Sujata madam, Dr. Jagan.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Finally, we got good number of participants.
Yes,
so more than 70 participants joined.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, madam. Thank you all. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I request once again all the participants, please click on the link before I close this meeting.
Where it is put up, sir? Certificate link?
In the chat window, madam. So I wait for 1 or 2 minutes, then I will close this meeting. Thank you. Kishore sir, I'm closing this meeting.
Yes, sir, you can, please. Fine, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.